Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here. Thursday, February 20th, NFL Combine gets kicked off next week. Jacksonville Jaguars, they are in the middle of interviewing in person their GM candidate finalists. Yesterday, they interviewed both Ian Cunningham from the Chicago Bears, the assistant GM there, and Josh Williams, a high-up personnel executive for the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to have interviews today and tomorrow. You are going to find out who the Jaguars GM is in, potentially tomorrow night into Saturday, Sunday at the latest, I would say. And then they're going to be off traveling to Indy for the Combine. But we're not talking about the Combine here. We're not talking about the GM. We're talking about what the GM might be able to accomplish for the Jaguars during free agency. This is my free agency plan. If I was interviewing with the Jacksonville Jaguars today, this is what I'd be talking about beyond culture and process and all those important things. I'd be talking about what the plan is to improve on the offensive line, to improve the secondary, right? Those are the two primary objectives. All my numbers here are from overthecap.com. These are the guys I want the Jaguars to sign in free agency the way I would have the Jaguars handle things. So really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. So starting off with the trenches and the secondary. Like I said, those are the two most important things. Specifically interior offensive line. You have Brandon Sheriff set to hit free agency. He's up there in age. You have Mitch Morse, who's on the final year of his deal. He's also up there in age. I want Drew Dahlman as my starting center. Bottom line. We talked about it yesterday. Go check that show out. I also want a starting guard, right guard. I also want edge 3. I want a safety and a cornerback. Those are my goals for this free agency cycle. And it's not any safety, any cornerback, any edge 3, any starting guard. It's guys that we think fit our culture, fit the way we want to work, and fit from a skill set standpoint, right? Now, before you get to signing guys and cutting guys, signing guys, you do have to talk about cutting guys. You do have to talk about the players on the roster that have deals that you might want to alter a little bit, etc. Christian Kirk, I think you restructure that deal. I think you keep Evan Ingram. And now you have Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. You barely had those guys on the field together last year due to injury, right? So you have those three. Yes, Gabe Davis probably going to be on the roster just from a salary cap standpoint. It does not make sense to move on from him until after the 2025 season. I want to enter the draft primarily looking for interior defensive line, wide receiver, and left guard of the future potentially. And that's no slide on Ezra Cleveland. I think he's a good player, but I do think you could potentially get bigger, nastier, stronger there. So the Jaguars have projected $38 million in cap space, right? Let's reduce Christian Kirk's cap hit by restructuring his contract down to about $14.5 million for this year. You can do that by adding void years, by, giving him a signing bonus on a restructured deal. You can do it in a lot of different ways. So that's another $8.5 million in salary cap space. You're up to $46 million. You cut Ronald Darby, who was never going to be a long-term play, but was really disappointing last year. Probably best for him to get a fresh start, quite honestly. You save $2.3 million. You're up to $48 million in cap space. You cut Josh Reynolds, who is not a bad player, but I think you're looking to get younger, more athletic, at the wide receiver position. You have Christian Kirk. You have, again, Evan Ingram at tight end. Brian Thomas Jr., obviously. So you cut Josh Reynolds and save over $4 million in cap space. You're at $52 million. You cut Mitch Morse after you sign Drew Dahlman, and you cut him post-June 1. That saves you about $3.1 million, but again, you don't get it till post-June 1. So that's not spending money for, wave 1 of free agency. That's down the road money that kind of helps, with future needs potentially. So again, we're signing Drew Dahlman. I'm willing to make him the second highest paid center in the league. I don't think anyone else is going to beat you if you offer him $15 million, and you might not even have to go that high. The way these negotiations go, it's like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So bottom line, I'm willing to pay him whatever it takes to get him in Jacksonville. And the reason being, if you, I don't think this is going to happen. I don't. But even if you were to pay him at the very top of the center position at $18 million per year with Creed Humphrey. And look, at center, I'm going to pull up the center contract right now. At center, $18 million is the market setter. Creed Humphrey. Let's say you even have to go higher than that, 18.5. Set the market at center. That is so cheap compared to most other positions, and the impact that a center of Drew Dahlman's caliber can have on your football team is massive. He is a high impact run blocker, both at the point of attack and in space, and he's a high impact pass blocker. Like, watch the tape. Don't go by those PFF numbers, PFF grades. Watch the tape and tell me that guy can't play at an extremely high level in both the run and pass. Okay? And I'm not saying this is likely to happen. I don't think it's likely to happen. I honestly think Drew Dahlman will probably sign as the third highest paid center, a little bit over what Lloyd Cushenberry got last year. That's my prediction, but I'm saying I'm willing to go way higher than that if I need to. Because at center, there's just not a ton of money there. That's a position you can spend on in a big way, and it doesn't have a huge impact on the salary cap. So if you pay him to be the second highest paid center, Frank Ragnow is currently getting $13.5 million a year. Okay. I would easily go up to 15, and if I had to, I would go higher than that. Because the type of impact he's going to have on your offense on all three downs consistently, Drew Dahlman, it's profound. It's huge. So let's say, just to be, on the safe side, it's $15 million per year deal, which I don't think it will be. 4 years, $15 million. He's going to turn 27 soon. He's a young guy going into his prime. Out after year 3, your year 1 cap it with the way the Jaguars structure contracts, $6 million. About 40% of the average annual value of $15 million per year. You have $46 million in cap space. And again, this is where Shad Khan and his willingness to spend, his willingness to write big signing bonuses really helps you out. You can prorate the signing bonus over the length of the contract, which reduces the year 1 cap hit significantly. Shout out to Shad Khan for that checkbook, right? And being willing to spend it. So you have $46 million in cap space after signing Drew Dahlman. That's priority number 1. Priority number 2, signing Tevin Jenkins. Or it doesn't have to be Tevin Jenkins. Like, I'm all on board the Trey Smith as well. But Tevin Jenkins seems like the most realistic. I think Trey Smith is going to get paid the most at guard in 2025. I think that Tevin Jenkins is going to be second or third. Looking at Mekhi Becton, there's some rumblings that he potentially wants to go back to playing tackle. So I don't know that he would sign to be your guard. We'll see how that ends up playing out. But you signed Tevin Jenkins, 3 years, $15 million a year, 2 year out. Year 1 cap it, $6 million. You have $40 million in cap space. And now Tevin Jenkins, if Ian Cunningham ends up getting the job, they have familiarity with each other. And Tevin Jenkins is a darn good football player. He has versatility to play left guard, right guard. Obviously, you're signing him to be your starting right guard in this situation, but he's played both throughout his career extensively. He also played tackle in college. He is big. He is physical. He's 6'6", 320 pounds. He's a guy I wanted the Jaguars to draft back in his draft class. And you pull up, he's not just big and physical. He is an athlete as well. Tevin Jenkins is impressive. Pull up his mock draftable spider chart. So he has 33.5-inch arms on the interior, which really helps out, right? But a guy that 90th percentile in the 40-yard dash, 90th percentile in the vertical jump, 65th percentile broad jump, 64th percentile 3-cone drill, 62nd percentile 20-yard shuttle, 97th percentile bench press. This guy is incredibly impressive. And those are at offensive tackle, right? Those numbers are compared to offensive tackles. He's incredible. So you're adding not only 2 really good football players in Drew Dahlman and Tevin Jenkins, but 2 really good athletes, right? And I'd be all over that. So you have $40 million in cap space after bringing in Tevin Jenkins. You now want to go get that corner. And the Jaguars have been heavily linked to Carlton Davis. I have zero problem with that. If that's the way it's going to go, sure. I don't think he's the only option, but I do think he is a very good option for the Jaguars. So you sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal, $14 million per year, something in that range. Year one cap hit around $5 million. You have $35 million in cap space. And the cool thing about Carlton Davis, we talked about this earlier this week. With Carlton Davis and Tyson Campbell on the outside, you have two cornerbacks with great length and great physicality at the line of scrimmage, at the top of the route, and they both will come downhill and play the run. So that's a really good situation to be in. I like that a lot. And his injury last year was fluky. It was a broken jaw. It's not like he's dealing with consistent hamstrings or whatever it is. So you now have your interior offensive line ready to go for 2025, right? You got your two guys you signed. You got Ezra Cleveland, who, again, I think is a pretty darn good football player. You got your tackles in place. You went out. You got Carlton Davis, so you have your cornerback room in place. Jarian Jones at nickel. You have some young guys, Buster Brown, DeAndre Prince. Maybe you sign another vet who you feel like can be a good backup for you. But you're in good shape there. So many safeties are out there in free agency. Honestly, the Jaguars could afford to sign two. I don't know that they will, just considering the numbers. You can't really cut Darnell Savage without just eating all of the money there. That doesn't make sense. It's kind of like the Gabe Davis situation. You can cut the other guys. You could cut Dewey. You could cut Daniel Thomas. I wouldn't. I would keep both of those guys for the culture, for special teams. I want both of those guys on my roster, right? Antonio Johnson's still in the building. So there's a numbers crunch at safety. There really is, but I would sign a safety. And whether it's Javon Holland, Justin Reed, somebody else, I'd defer to the coaching staff on what they'll ask of the guy, what they really want from your top safety in your room. What do you really want from that guy? Like, what role do you want him to have? Again, I do think Holland and Reed are the best out there. I think Holland is more of a free safety. I think Reed is more of a strong safety, but both guys can fulfill a lot of different roles for you. Let's just say it's Holland who will be top of the market. I think he's like an $18 million per year guy, 25 years old, probably 4 years, $18 million a year. Year one cap hit, about $7 million. You're at $28 million in cap space. And our last critical move here, edge 3, I'm looking at guys like Josh Uche, Joseph Osai, Jacob Martin, guys like this that you know can rush the passer, be your edge 3. Let's say at max you give one of those guys $8 million per year. That's a $3 million year one cap hit. You're sitting at $25 million. Plus you're going to get over $3 million back after June 1 when you get that money from moving on from Mitch Morse, who I have no problem with Mitch Morse, but you're not going to keep three centers. I don't know that Liam Cohen is going to come in here and cut Luke Fortner off the rip, guy he worked with in college as a backup. Right? So that's where I'm at right now. So you're locked and loaded for 2025, and a couple positions you want to upgrade for 2025 and beyond. Interior defensive line, wide receiver. Guess what? We're going to go do both of those in round 1 and 2. Y'all didn't know you were getting a little bit of a mock draft here, but at 5, you go get Mason Graham. Absolutely tremendous prospect as a run defender and a pass rusher on the interior who can move around the defensive front a ton for you. So now you're looking at a defensive front. Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Azeez Ojulari, right? You're looking at on the interior, Mason Graham, Mason Smith, Eric Armstead, Jordan Jefferson. I mean, it's starting to look really good up front on both lines of scrimmage. You go get Jaden Higgins or someone else in round 2 who can be an outside receiver for you opposite Brian Thomas Jr. And I love Jaden Higgins' fit with Trevor Lawrence because of his ability to go up and get the football, 50-50 contested catches. Like, Trevor Lawrence will give his guys opportunities in those situations, and Jaden Higgins can make the most of them. Round 3, you get a safety and an offensive lineman like Kevin Winston Jr. coming off the injury, Xavier Watts, Andrew Makuba, one of those guys probably there at 70. Then, you know, at 88, maybe offensive lineman like Anthony Belton, who tackle guard versatility. I'd be looking at him as probably left guard of the future, an absolute mauler, 340 plus pounds, big time athlete. Early day three, maybe you go get a running back and a cornerback, Kobe Bryant, Jordan James. Jordan James did a lot of the same things that Bucky Irving did at Oregon. Kobe Bryant is a guy with length and physicality. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I'm really excited about the Jaguars' future. I think that they're moving in the right direction. They're looking in all the right places at GM. My guess is going to be Ian Cunningham. That's just a guess, though. That's kind of like reading the tea leaves, reading everything around the web. I think Ian Cunningham is the most likely to get that job. But I would also say that you could be looking at James Gladstone. Ethan Wall wouldn't shock me, but I think it's going to be Ian Cunningham. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.